Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the IFED Night Talk. This is Andrea Ricci from Florence, but tonight I'm known as Andrea King. The purpose of these talks is to find out what's behind a great professional, what is behind a person that we happen to know maybe during congresses or meetings or courses. So what we are interested in is the personal features, the attitude, the tricks, and the characteristics of the personalities that made a great professional become who they are now. So tonight we have the honor to interview Dr. David Klaff from London and Dr. Stefano Gracis from Milan. Let me start with David then. David, what is your story? How did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Andrea, good evening. Stefano, nice to be with you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very sad story. I remember in school, my rugby team just having been beaten by 30 points, walking off the field, and I realized that I was never going to play rugby for South Africa. So I became a dentist.
Interesting. And what about you, Stefano?
Well, my story is certainly less traumatic and less dramatic. Well, I was finishing high school, and I told my father that I had thought of becoming an architect. As soon as he heard that, he tried to talk me out of it. And well, my father was an antique dealer, and but he knew about architecture. He knew about the possibility of working in that field, and he knew me. So he came up with something totally unexpected, out of the box, if you wish, that never was mentioned in the family before. He proposed to me to become a dentist and to study in the United States. I was shocked, and actually I heard more the second part than the first part. I was definitely attracted by the idea of going to the United States to study, and did not really care too much about the fact that I was going there to study dentistry. But, you know, it could have gone anyway. So back then, I had no idea how to approach the entire thing and where to get information from. There was no internet back then. And I did ask some help at the American consulate, but didn't get much information. And eventually, friends of friends wrote to a couple of universities in the United States. And all of a sudden, a day, I got a letter from Temple University in Philadelphia. I never heard of that university. But they announced to me that I could have been admitted in their pre-dental program. And I immediately took the opportunity to say yes, even though I had no idea where I was getting into. And the following story may be hard to believe, but I ended up going to Philadelphia without any contact, without any real understanding of the school that I was being admitted. And once I got there, I just realized that I was in college and that there were no guarantees that I could have actually been admitted into dental school. I found myself in a very, very different environment than what I was used to in the northern part of a large city, which was mainly considered a fairly dangerous part of the city. But little by little, I made my way. I understood the system. And eventually, I did go into dental school at the University of Pennsylvania, where my career started. So for the time being, I think this is enough.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Stefano. And David, let me ask you, what is your biggest regret? Let's go into some deep feature of your personality.
Okay, I think it was my university life. Although I got a great deal out of university, and I certainly studied my profession, I certainly learned and did all the good things at university. When I look back and I see what was offered at the university and the discourses that I could have got involved in, I think I would have been a much better person had I committed myself a little bit more to that.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Stefano?
Well, difficult question. Difficult. Let's say that my biggest regret is to have had a very difficult time in finding a good balance in my life. I got sucked into this profession with my entire passion, and I have dedicated a huge amount of time to my professional career, my professional life, both in the office and in the academies of which I have been part. And I guess at the end, my biggest regret is not to have had enough time or not to have dedicated enough time to traveling more than I actually did. I did a lot of travel, but very often work related, and less often than I would have liked or I should have done for exploring the world beyond teeth.
I see, but you're using the past. So it is over, right? You're able now to do that.
It's not over yet, but definitely it's that time in life in which I am trying to think what I'm going to be doing the next 10 years. And I'm trying to find the proper exit strategy and do now what maybe I did not do enough in the past with my wife, with my family. And so probably things are going to change in a not too distant future.
Okay, please, once you find the answers, please share them with us, okay? Because we badly need them. David, what do you think about the comfort zone? Did it limit you, or what do you think about it? Or you don't actually feel it?
Oh, I feel it. It does limit. I think it limits society. I think it limits interaction. To me, it spells complacency. I might be right, I might be wrong, but there's an acceptance of a situation in the comfort zone. We should always be striving. We should be at the edge. We should be driving. We should be analyzing, critical thinking, not the acceptance, but to think about everything that is happening to us philosophically, financially, sporting, professionally. I don't like the comfort zone. You sit back and you accept.
Please, would you mind to share with me one time that you got out with success of the comfort zone and another time that you were actually stuck in the comfort zone and you didn't do that step?
I'll answer that, but I have to be applied to the profession. I found myself accepting the comfort zone in my first years in England when I worked under the National Health. And I knew I had a limit. And I accepted that limit. I should never have accepted that limit. Getting out is the exact opposite of that. I got out of it. And I sat on the fourth floor of a room in Harley Street, and I said, who knows me? Who knows I'm here? But I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm going to do the correct thing, which pushed myself to the edge.
And you, Stefano?
Well, I was really never interested in the comfort zone. And that was clear to me when I landed in the Black Ghetto in Philadelphia in 1980. As I said before, in a totally different environment than what I was accustomed to. And I took that as a, call to action, as a challenge. I remember very well for the first 5 years of my permanence in the United States, I never met an Italian, not because there were no Italians around, there were lots of Italians, but I tried to avoid them as much as I could in order to try to understand better the Americans and get into their culture and their mentality. And ever since I realized that, I always tried to challenge myself to try to go beyond what was, easy to reach and easy to do. And I was also inspired by a number of people I met during my stay, especially in those 10 years in the United States, both professionally, but also outside of the profession, people who really show me a different way of thinking, a different way of approaching the profession, and of trying to really open my mind. And I was very lucky. Lucky because I found a lot of extremely inspiring people, both at the University of Pennsylvania, where I did my DMD degree, and at the University of Washington, where I did my master's in prosthodontics after that. People that really had a big impact, mentors with a capital M, and this is really what I wish anybody to always find in their pathway, to becoming a better person. Be inspired. Don't be afraid to aim high, to try to approach people who are definitely better than you are, because they can help you, find out more the qualities that are inside of you, and help you develop yourself.
I see. Do you think that this was your natural attitude, or you learned how to get out of the comfort zone? Because this is, I think it is interesting for our viewers.
It was maybe somewhere in the middle. As I mentioned, I lived in my teens in a very comfortable life, in a very protected environment in Milano, and I was not really understanding what the meaning of comfort zone was, but I now know that I was living it very well. But when I was put across the ocean into that situation, all of a sudden I did realize that I had more inside of me, and it was a matter of adapting to new environments and to new challenges. So I think it's also something that is part of your personality, but at the same time, you make a conscious decision in trying to learn how to get out of your comfort zone. So, you have to have strong motivation, that's for sure.
I see. I love this topic, this concept of the comfort zone. I would do like an evening just to talk about this, but we have to go on. So, David, let's go to the next question. How important is to be able to change, in your opinion?
Oh, it's paramount. If we accept, if we stagnate in an imperfect situation, we are nowhere. We have to strive, we have to better, we have to learn from history, we have to learn from our mistakes in every aspect of life. You cannot stagnate. Otherwise we'll sit in a room and say, what is the meaning of life? And we'll all blah, 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 blah each other. Whereas if you are striving, if you are achieving, if you are pushing yourself, you have to change. You have to change all the time. It's dynamic. Yes. Life is dynamic.
I understand this, but, if one have a nice family, pay attention to the diet, play some sports, have a balanced life, everything appears to be okay and comfort and nice. Why should change? Why to change something that works, in your opinion?
Nobody is saying that a balanced life or a balanced attitude and a balanced family is a disadvantage. Oh, we all strive to achieve that as the foundation. But what is the quality of the balance? We could improve the balance. Wouldn't you like your children to come to you with A+ instead of B's or C's? They have to work, they have to strive, and strive implies change. They have to keep learning, which is a changing process. It's dynamic. You cannot be stagnant. I hear what you're saying, Andrea, and I accept it. I accept it. Should we be satisfied? Of course we can sleep at night. But should we stop improving the comfort? Never, never.
I like that. And what do you think about it, Stefano?
Well, I agree with David. There is no question about it. I mean, to me, the big motivation to go on. And also one of the motivations why I like so much teaching is the fact that you need constantly to improve yourself. You need constantly to learn, to study. The more you know, the more you're aware that you don't know that much after all, that you're still ignorant. And really, the idea of being content with a certain level of knowledge or professionalism doesn't really make me happy. No, I need to have a stimulus to improve, to increase my knowledge, and therefore to change and adapt to new situations, to also learn how to communicate. That's another big challenge, you know, learning how to communicate properly with people of different cultures. This is one of the reasons why when I came back from the States at the beginning of my professional career here in Milano, I looked for a professional academy in Italy where I could start my path. But also I looked for a situation which was more of an international situation. I was absolutely attracted by cultures different than mine. And, you know, as I said, I spent 10 years in the United States, so I had plenty of those opportunities. And I wanted to have the same opportunity back here also because those were the years in which there was a lot of talk about European community, seeing Europe as one big nation, but made of different cultures. And that's when I found the European Academy of Aesthetic Dentistry, which has become my home for the past 30 years, and where I met a lot of extremely interesting people, and David is one of them. We have met each other in 91, 92, so a long time ago. And this acquaintance with people from different parts of Europe over and over has really been a huge motivation for me to improve and to change. And so, you know, this is my message. Try always to look for somebody who is different than you, confront that person, learn from that person, and just make one step at a time in, you know, become wiser and more knowledgeable.
And why do you think people is so reluctant to change? Why?
Maybe some of them don't want to get out of a certain comfort zone. Maybe some of them are afraid of comparing themselves to a situation which is different or which is not clear, not understandable. And when you deal with people of different cultures, there is so much you have to understand and learn, and you really have to adapt to a totally different mentality than yours. This, for some people, is difficult to do. They rather listen to the people who have a similar message, a similar culture. They are not attracted, maybe, by this level of difference that may be destabilizing at times.
I see. David, what personal feature you think allowed you to get where you are and who you are?
It goes with the last question. The drive. I have never been satisfied with achieving something. I can know I've always could do it a little better. And I've striven and studied and learned, whether it's raising my children, whether it's intercourse, whether discourse, or whatever, that to better myself. And I never accepted this comfort zone within my own self.
Stefano?
For me, passion. Passion is definitely a word that sums up very well the entire issue. Passion, and at the same time, the acknowledgement by people I admired, people I trusted, that they saw something in me. And having this type of feedback fuels more your passion, gives you more comfort, and gives you more certainty in what you're doing, and therefore guides you somehow, guides your professional path in a certain way, and also your personal, trip of becoming a better man, a better person.
How do you balance, David, your professional life and private life? Do you mind to share with us some tricks, please?
Yes, well, that's a question that everybody with the passion, with the desire, with the drive to better themselves has to face on a daily basis with their families. And Sharon and I took an early decision. We were going to involve each other and our children in everything we did. For example, I belonged to 3 aesthetic academies, the American, the European, and the British. We took our children to every single meeting. We went as a family. They got to know the dentist. They got to know the dentist's children. My children have made friends of this children of Americans, of Europeans, and they still write to each other today, 30, 40 years later. We involved them. I never missed a football match my son played in. I never missed a concert my daughter played in. And we discussed it at the table time and time again. And yes, it was loaded towards dentistry. Of course it was. You had to. You were away a lot. You lectured, you went to day courses, but we involved each other. Sharon teaches yoga. I know every movement. She's told me, she's discussed it with me. She's shown me how to do it. And I think that's gone a long way to creating the harmony that's in it. And certainly my grandchildren, my health stops me now, but I didn't miss a football game that they both took part in. So I'm not satisfied, but I accept what our role.
And I admire you a lot for this, you know that.
Thank you.
Stefano, give us some insights and some tricks, please. And I will ask Elena afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if my wife will ever listen to this interview.
I will make sure she does.
Oh my goodness. Well, as I said before, balance is not something I'm too familiar with. I have forced maybe a little bit my lifestyle, my passion onto the family. Certainly, I have full knowledge of the fact that if I have been able to do what I have done and to become what I've become, is thanks to the support of my wife first and the entire family, our 3 children. There was definitely a big understanding of what I was trying to do and a big support by all of them, even though my wife has not followed me around very often to my dental meetings. But she has allowed me to do that, and while raising our 3 children. And this past year we just celebrated our 27th anniversary. So I guess has been a stable relationship, and to me that was definitely a very important item in giving me the freedom and the liberty to dedicate lots of my energies to my profession, to what I liked the best. But I said before, I realized that now things have changed, that a new equilibrium must set into our couple, and that we still need to feed our relationship in order to make sure that we are going to be able to go on for many more years. And having common passions, common interests is really the secret, behind the possibility of developing and changing and growing together with another person. So even though in the past my balance was off balance, I'm really striving hard to, make a different, direction, or set a different direction to our lives. So no tricks, a lot of hard work, a lot of tolerance, maybe. So I'm not much of a help for you, Andrea. I'm sorry.
No, you are, believe me. David, if you would have a magic wand, what would you change in your life?
Oh, that is a difficult one. Would I have come to England knowing what I know? I think so. I always regretted not ending up in the United States, as Stefano has said. But I think, in retrospect, it was not a mistake. You know what? You've got me there. There's a lot of things I would have changed, an awful lot of things I would have changed, but they are mainly clinical, and they are mainly involved around the dentistry. I said, for example, my biggest regret in clinically is not studying orthodontics before I became a prosthodontics. Periodontics, we've picked up from people like yourself, Andrea, your father, Zucchelli, we've understood it. But when I hear David DeFranco or Renato talk orthodontics, it's a different world to me. And I wish I had better knowledge in that respect. I think I would have been a better prosthodontist had I had that knowledge. That's my biggest regret in my career. In life, I've got very few. I'm sorry, I'm not satisfied, but I've got very few regrets.
Great. Stefano?
Well, I agree with David. It's a very difficult question. While he was talking, I was thinking back. I don't know. I don't think I would change much in my life. I'm happy with what has happened. As a matter of fact, much more has happened than I ever imagined or wished. And at the end, there was one big decision that I took at the end of my academic career back in the States. And that decision was rather to stay in the United States and raise a family there, or to come back to Italy and to Europe. And as you know, eventually the second was the decision that I took. And looking back, I do not have any major regrets. I think it was the right decision for me. It has allowed me to also spend a lot of time with my family of origin, with my parents. My only regret is that this idea of a European community has really not gotten off the ground much since then. I was extremely sad when I saw United Kingdom getting out of the European community. I think this is a huge mistake, a big setback for not just for Great Britain, but I think for all of us in a world like this, with the new, powers are coming to play. But at the end of the day, no, I think it was the right decision to come here. So no major regrets. As far as professional regrets, well, I could have changed a lot of things. Certainly, there was a lot of room for improvement, but it's okay. I'm happy.
Okay. And David, would you like to share with us one of your flaws?
Okay, just one. I've got plenty. I've got too many to name. But the one is, I agree with Stefano about the passion and the drive. And if I don't achieve it, the people in my company can read it on my face. Now that shows if I didn't achieve something clinically, my patients would say, do you want to do it again? Or before I even said anything, they just read my eyes. And we're having a debate, people can read my eyes. And I wish I had a better poker face.
I don't see that as a bad thing.
I don't think so, David. That's a good feature. It's not
Exactly. Yeah, maybe apocryphy sometimes would help. that because maybe he consider that a flaw. And what about you, Stefano?
Well, certainly the same attitude as David, the same tendency of letting things out of my eyes, even though my mouth is not saying certain things. But no, I definitely, one of the biggest flaws is the lack of discipline for things that are not related to dentistry. For example, sports. You, Andrea, talking about, having a balance with also sport activity. I've been terrible with, doing a regular exercise. So my flaw is not having discipline in things outside of my professional life. In professional life, forget it, too much discipline, but outside, not enough.
Thank you very much, because you make me feel good and better. David, what do you think about, what do you like about Stefano? Please,
Wow.
go in deep.
That's easy. Just watch the show. Everything he said. I could sum Stefano up in 2 words. 3 words. A class act. I've known him for 30 years. There are times when I've disagreed with him, but you have to listen to him. And you have to see that he has a point of view that is valid. It might differ from yours, but you have to respect it. And his integrity, his passion, his honesty, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and he's a great asset to any profession, family, and I'm sure his family recognizes truly in him. I'm sure they're proud of him.
Stefano, what do you think about this, our sweet friend, David?
Well, yeah, as you said, David is definitely a friend. It's one of those friends you get to know thanks to your professional career, but you really do consider them friend with a capital F. I always thought of David as your typical British gentleman, but certainly, once I got to learn the fact that he was originally from South Africa, and then I met other South Africans, David Garber, Eddie Levinson, Saivian, people like that, I saw a common trait, and it's like dealing with all, gentlemen to the nth degree. I don't know, I guess this combination of South African origin and British and American culture is brought together and gotten out of you the best. You are a person, David, with whom it's always a pleasure to speak and to confront. You are a good listener, but also you're a person who has no fear in speaking out your mind and in telling me maybe that some of the things I'm thinking may not be right on track. I've always had a very good feeling in speaking with you, because I felt there was a very direct, open, and honest dialogue between the two of us. And this is what I liked. And also, I value your feeling so strong about your family, about Sharon. And this is something that I definitely look up to and take as a inspiration to bring into my own personal life and my relationship with my family and my wife.
Thank you. Very, very nice, Stefano. Now we are about close to the end of the evening, and I would like to ask you both some really quick questions. So I'm going to read the question, and David and Stefano will reply as soon as possible, as fast as possible, without thinking. Okay, let's start. So, traditional agenda versus smartphone.
Tradition.
Smartphone.
Nature versus city travels.
Nature.
Nature.
Airplane versus train.
Train.
No question, train.
Sport car or elegant car?
Mercedes.
I would say elegant. I just got a Mercedes.
Apple Watch or Rolex?
Apple.
Neither.
Brain, analytical or rational, or fantasy and art?
Analytical.
No question. Analytical, rational, too rational.
I was going to guess about both of you. Book, Kindle or paper book?
Kindle, for me.
Paper.
And house, modern or classical?
Modern.
A mix of the two.
Now the difficult
Remember,
question.
my father was an antique dealer.
Okay. Now, very difficult one. In the office forever or retirement plan with the family?
Both.
Yeah, I guess, it depends on the day. Certainly, in the office forever some days, but more and more retirement plan with the family and a better balance.
I knew it was going to be a difficult final question. I would like to thank you, David. Thank you, Stefano. It has been a pleasure to have you at the IFED Night Talk. I really enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to see you next month. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, David. It was
Thank you, Stefano.
great.
Andrea, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
It will start in a world beyond imagination. That will draw you in with awe and wonder. It will pluck at your heartstrings, inspire you in every sense, and set the stage for grand adventures. There will be unforgettable characters along the way who will show you the most unbelievable places, where you'll find secrets, centuries deep, and discover dazzling moments that are unexpectedly golden. There must be twists and turns, ups and downs, thrills around every corner. And you'll always want to do it one more time. And then, of course, there must be you, our hero. With that look on your face, when all the potential gathers around you like a held breath, as if this whole world was just waiting for you to arrive. So, when does your extraordinary story begin?